Perfect. So we are back with another episode of Biz Mindz, and we are here with Kim, the owner of Kristis Key Lime Cookies. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kim.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get right into it. We love Kristis Key Lime Cookies.
Thank you.
Definitely customers and fans of Kristis Key Lime Cookies. Tell us a little bit about yourself, from how you got into the industry.
Okay.
Like what led you into the industry, and then also how you made your way down to the Southwest Florida area.
Okay, so I've been in Naples since 1980. I came to visit friends and I stepped foot on Vanderbilt Beach and said, I'm going to live here. So I bought my first house here in 1988. I was in printing and marketing for 27 years, and then I was in the financial world doing mortgages for 10 after that. I moved full-time to Naples in 2007, and shortly after that, my brother passed away unexpectedly, and both my parents had dementia, so I became a caregiver. They moved here to Florida with me, and I really couldn't work a full-time job caregiving for them. So one of my loves is to go to the beach, and that's where I do most of my thinking. So I was sitting on the beach one day and I went, okay, I have to pay the mortgage. So Kristis Key Lime Cookies actually was Be Happy Cakes as my official company name. And I started making pound cakes and cheesecakes for country clubs and restaurants. And that actually didn't afford me enough time to care for my parents. So I sat on the beach and said, okay, what am I going to do? What's going to give me more time? And I love to bake, and I thought we were missing a good key lime cookie. So I decided to come up with my own recipe and started doing research and development and doing samples. And 9 months later, the cookie was perfected to the way I wanted it, and I started marketing it, sending it out to all my friends across the country with surveys. Did they crumble, or are they stale?
That's smart.
Do you like the texture? Are they too sweet, too tart? And finally, I just started knocking on doors and marketing them. And
wow. Was it 9 months in? So 9 months into the recipe, that's still the same recipe today?
Still the same recipe today. Yeah, it took me 9 months to perfect it to the way I thought it should be. And then I started marketing. And that was 2011. Was my first marketing campaign locally. And I loved to cold call. So I was just knocking on doors with cookies. I mean, who doesn't like a cookie? Yeah. I mean, nobody turns you down.
Right.
So that's how it started.
Right.
And it's been since then, since it's grown.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. And so officially 2007?
2009, I started my company.
2009.
Be Happy Cakes. And then 2011 is when I started marketing the cookies.
The cookies.
So I stopped doing cheesecakes and pound cakes and started doing the cookies.
Wow.
And you never thought of combining the two together, the cookies and the cakes?
No, actually, because cakes and cheesecakes are so time consuming. And it just, basically I could put my parents to bed. And, it's like having two little kids, and put them to bed and, start baking. So I baked out of my house until I started marketing. And then I co-opted a kitchen with a cupcake company down on the East Trail.
Right.
And then grew, and then I had to finally get into my own place.
Wow. So. How far into the process did you get into your own place?
I started building out in 2013, and then moved in May of 2014. So it took about
3 years.
It took about a year to actually build my place out, and then about 3 years before.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, it's
Were the cookies a big hit right away?
The cookies were a big hit right away. I started marketing. My first customer was Naples Beach Hotel, which is no longer around, and then Naples Botanical Garden was my second customer. Wow. And after that, I started. It's the perfect cookie for the Keys. So I started in Key West and started marketing in Key West. And
what made you go into wholesale instead of having a storefront?
I never want to have to deal with the general public. Yeah. I've always been in the service industry. My graphic art, I have my own graphic arts company. So I was always service oriented with wholesalers or with like printing companies, and I just never had the desire to work with the general public or have a store. You run into employee situations where somebody's got to be there all the time,
It's a whole different
it's
logistics.
just a whole different thing. It's a whole different license. It's just, it's a commitment that I didn't want to have to do. I had more flexibility doing wholesale. And again, with my parents, that was really important at the time. So, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I have before I lose my train of thought. Where does the name Kristis come from?
So Kim's Key Lime Cookies was actually trademarked. A gal in Missouri has that as a trademark. And my niece her name is Christy. So we were actually sitting one day trying to figure out what roll's good. Kristis Key Lime Cookies. So I just said, why don't we use her name? So we used her name, and that's where it comes from. She has nothing to do with the business, but that's
your favorite
name. Someday I wish she would take over, but she isn't going to. Yeah. But that's how that all came about. And it's kind of good to have for people not to know it's me, because you get honest opinions. Because they'll talk to me like I'm not the owner, because they don't know who Christy is. Because they're talking to Kim.
True.
You get a lot of honest feedback that way. So it's actually good.
Yeah.
So,
And what's the goal for Kristis Key Lime Cookies?
My goal is to build the business big enough to sell it to either, pie in the sky, but you got to shoot for the stars. Somebody like Sara Lee or Nabisco or one of those sell the recipe. Right now I'm in the process of working with a food chemist to add organic preservatives so that we can increase our shelf life, so that we can get into more markets like Buc-ee's and fresh markets and that kind of place. I want to be in the airports, but we have such a short shelf life. We have a 28-day shelf life because it's fresh baked.
Right.
So I'm working right now with a food chemist to see if we can get that to 3 or 6 months, so I can go to the next step.
Right.
And then 3 or 4 years down the road, just sell.
Sell it.
Yeah. Move to an island.
That's what I was going to ask. After you sell, what are your plans?
I'm a little too close. I don't know. I've thought about it for years of where I wanted to live and retire to. And, probably someplace in the Caribbean or, I just got back from Italy. So kind of, there's a couple of islands in the Mediterranean that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
So, but that's 3 or 4 years down the road.
Right. It's crazy what a recipe and a cookie can do,
right?
For people, and also just business, right? And the way that you can scale and how far it can actually take you.
Yes, you come look at Tate's. You can scale it. I mean, you can.
Did you ever imagine that it was going to take you this far? Just thinking at the beach?
No. No. At the time, I was still doing mortgages, working for the company. I opened an office here for them, and that was kind of going to be like a side thing. And then, of course, with the parents, it just ended up becoming, my livelihood. So I had no idea it would be where it is today.
Did you feel like you took a leap of faith when you transitioned from the mortgage business to what you're...
Sure, you have that stability and that income, and then you're just starting something new. Nobody's ever heard of you, and I didn't know anything about restaurants or retail baking, or that's not my was not my background. But I know how to market, so I thought
I feel
packaging.
That's a good point. I feel like if you know how to market, you can literally get behind any business. I
always say, if you can sell a pet rock, you can sell anything. Think about it. The pet rock, it's probably before your time, but the pet rock, somebody marketed and sold a pet rock. They price it in the Caribbean in their villa somewhere. But if you know how to market and you know your market, and I built my brand to be gourmet. It's not everywhere. It's in high-end hotel gift stores, high-end markets. And
it's not a regular cookie.
It's not a regular cookie.
Yeah. You can tell that it's different, handcrafted.
Handcrafted.
There's nothing that tastes like... I've never tasted anything like that.
No. It's like the perfect amount of key lime. I hate when things are like too tart or strong, and it's not. It's like a very light cookie.
2 bites. You have to get that second bite to get the punch.
I feel like you took one of the hardest paths in the sense of like, I'm gonna do baking. I'm gonna do a cookie only, and I'm going to aim for a different clientele, right? So when you started, how do you do that?
I just knew that in my mind the cookie was a high-end cookie. I mean, it has all high-end ingredients. I mean, we don't skimp on anything. We use all fresh ingredients, and we use real butter, real eggs. And I just felt like I don't want it in Publix, and I don't want it in every grocery store. I want it in high-end gourmet stores. we're in the Breakers, we're in the Biltmore, we're in Chicala, we're in all high-end resorts. And I just thought for how much it costs me to make the product, I need to have that market. And, of course I could change the recipe and, as I call it, dumb it down to have a wider market, but that's not my market. I want it to be a high-end gourmet market, and a high-end gourmet market. So that's how I kind of built it. And I pick and choose where I want it. Now, fortunately, after all these years, we have people calling us now. But I've had hotels, smaller hotels call and say, oh, we want to carry your cookie. And I'm like, I'd love to, but you're not my market. Don't take it personally, but you're not my market. And so it just, I pick and choose where I want them to be.
Yeah. And I think that's so interesting because I feel like that's like next level up in business when you can say no to money on the table because you have a certain vision for that company. Because even small business owners, even big business owners, it's very hard to say no, right? Because you want to, hey, do you do this? Yeah, we do that, because it's like money that people want to pay for your services or your product. So I think it's very interesting when companies have an ideal client, and I think that's how it should be if you want to scale, right? Because we just did a workshop like a couple weeks ago, and they said if you try to serve everybody, you'll end up serving nobody. Right.
Yeah, with that niche.
Yeah.
So.
And was that hard for you to do? Like at the beginning, were you always like, no, I can't
That's what I was going to
ask. No, because I have to stay true to my brand. I built my brand. I designed my brand to be a certain way. I've had hotels say, we don't want the green dot bag. We want our own packaging. I'm like, well, that's not me. That's not my brand. I'll do your logo on the label, but I'm not changing my packaging for you.
Right.
And I have that a lot. We do a lot of corporate work, and amazingly, most of our corporate customers or our big customers, hotel customers, they want our package and our branding because they want to present local and they want to promote local. So, but I have had a few over the years, and like I've had hotels say, well, we want to serve them for dinner. We want to but that's not my brand. I lose my brand when I lose my packaging, and it becomes any other cookie on a plate. So, I've had to say no to that a lot.
Yeah.
And
that's why that's why I love business, because I feel like there's so many like directions, right? Yeah. There's so many directions to go, because then there are people who think, oh, as long as you guys are buying them, you guys whatever they want to be, they are, Yeah. But it's very interesting because there's always different paths to take, and but I love that. Sticking to a brand, you just build a lot of customer loyalty.
Yes.
We've
had the same customers for 9-10 years. I mean, we've, as long as we've been in business, we're still sourcing the same hotels and the same coffee shops. So, and building on it. So it is a loyalty. And, I try to keep it fresh. We just came out with the orange cookie. And we're coming out with a key lime chocolate bar and working with a local chocolatier to keep it. You've got to stay a step ahead all the time.
Yeah.
So
when you started in the beginning, was it just you and your idea, or did you have a partner or somebody?
No, it was just me.
Did you do everything?
I did it all.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it hard?
Sometimes.
Was it hard for you to delegate?
No.
No.
It's not
you
hard
needed
for me to
the help.
delegate at all.
That's great.
Yeah, because I'm doing it now because of the girls. I have 7 people now, and the girls will go, "Oh, what are we going to do today?" And I'm like, "Well, you tell me."
Yeah.
I want you guys to be self-sufficient. I don't want to have to come in here and dictate what has to be done.
Right.
And you guys need to work together and figure out your own system.
How important would you say, because I think that is something that's very difficult for majority of business owners, small business owners, is learning to delegate, because sometimes you love so much what you do, your service or your product, that you forget that you're a business owner and you have to delegate to continue to grow.
And you want to do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you train your people and they have the passion and they know that what the product is, and they know that the end result has to be a certain way, they're going to do it the way you want it done. And, I do have to remind them once in a while, look, this is, since when do we do it this way? This isn't working, obviously. Go back to the original. I mean, it's tried and true. Don't try to fix it.
Right.
They have to gel and they have to get their own system and work together, because I'm not going to be there. I'm out selling and marketing. I'm not going to be in the shop all the time micromanaging and going, "Oh, you're racing that the wrong way."
Right.
Figure it out, get it done. You know what the end product is. As long as the end product is the way it's supposed to be, I don't really care how you get to that point. I mean, I do.
Right.
You have to have your own way to get to that point.
Right.
I mean, if my way's not right, your way's not right. It's whatever way works to get the end result the way it's supposed to be. So
I really like that, because I think it's important for people that get into business to know that you have to delegate.
Right.
Eventually, like at some point in your company or in your business, you have to delegate to grow, because I think that's the whole point of a company, is to continue to grow.
And you have to have you have to be confident in your team, and your team is you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if your team isn't working right, that's a reflection of you.
Right.
So, I want my team to work and do the right thing so that I don't have to be there and I can go out and sell and bring more business in. So, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
Well, just right now, you went to Italy, right? And they were telling me that they took care of some weddings and a lot of events. So, I mean, I thought that was great. They were present and they delivered and they did everything.
Yeah, they did really well. And that's, you have to groom your employees that way.
Yeah.
If you want, you just can't throw them into the fire pit.
Yeah.
Right.
So
can you tell us a little bit about how you started, in the sense of, okay, so I'm going to transition into this business. What do I need? How am I going to do it?
I had no clue. I absolutely had no clue. I mean, I baked with my grandmother when I was little, and I always knew I had the passion to bake. I liked to bake. When I was in the printing industry, if I got a big order from a customer, I would make them a cheesecake. So I always baked. I've always baked. But to actually have a business, I mean, I had no idea. I mean, we're buying 50-pound bags of flour and sugar. I mean, where'd that come from? But I just kind of threw myself into it and taught myself and figured, I kind of knew I always kind of knew the next step. And just, I had to wing it and figure it out. So.
What are some things that you think that you learned along the way that you could tell yourself, if you were to start over, maybe that would save you time during the process?
I had a really hard time finding a co-op kitchen. I think it's important for people to, if they go to that next step, to do what I did and just, take a leap of faith and build up my own commercial kitchen. That was hard. The resources were hard in the beginning because there were no resources. I mean, for months, it's like, okay, I need to, get out of the cupcake store. I need but there were no really commercial kitchens to rent. So resources were really hard at first. And I think, I think you should, I think you should research more your employee, like who your employees should be or what their talents are. I mean, I was in the printing room for 27 years. I had no idea what a baker is supposed to do. I mean, I just know how to bake. I know how the cookie's supposed to turn out, but I learned a lot along the way. How to
hire the first, who to hire as the first person.
Right, and I hired Wendy's been with me 11 years. She'll be 11 years in January, and I met her through a friend. And she was between jobs. She worked for food service company. She worked for Cisco and a couple other places, and she was between jobs. And one of my printing clients, him and his wife came down to visit, and they said, "Oh, we haven't seen Wendy for a while. You mind if she comes to dinner with us the last night?" So we got to talking, and she said, "Yeah, I'm between jobs. I don't know what I'm going to do." And I said, "Well, do you bake?" And she said, "No." And I said, "Do you want to learn?" And she said, "Yes." So, I mean, I taught her how to bake, and she's been with me all these years.
So it was you too in the beginning.
It was always
that's amazing.
Two of us for a long time.
Wow.
And then
would she go with you, going door to door, knocking?
Yeah, and she would go with me. I mean, we thought it was a big deal when we first started, doing like 300 cookies. We're like, oh my God, we have 300 cookies to make this week. How are we going to do it? And now we're doing 10 to 12,000 a week.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, she just got a machine.
More. Yeah. So plus we got that new equipment now. So that should help.
10 to how many? 10 to
12,000 a week.
10 to 12.
Yeah, and I'd like to double that this year.
And that machine is going to make how many a
day? We do.
Or 1 hour?
We do. We just bought last year a cookie dropper and 2 more ovens. So the cookie dropper is actually a vat, and you put the batter in the vat, and it's on a conveyor. You put the sheet in, and it drops 54 cookies every 9 seconds.
Oh my
That's
God.
insane.
we might not be doing it that fast, but it'll do that many. So we'll be able to crank them out.
Yeah.
And you guys are gonna have this machine?
We have it now.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah. We're getting ready to crank it up in another week or so.
Wow.
We want it up and running before season.
Are you thinking about expanding more in wholesale or e-commerce?
We have a strong e-commerce.
You do?
Yeah, thanks to our social media people and.
but is the strength really in the wholesale? Is that the word?
Well, actually, the strength is in the corporate work.
Corporate.
So we are in the process of, and this has been one of my things over the years. I started out with hotel gift stores. And then I kind of graduated. The next year I added in weddings. So we belong to a lot of wedding planner groups, and we do a lot of wedding. We do wedding shower cookies. We do gift bags, welcome bags. Wedding favors. So then once I got that pretty much up and running, I started into the corporate. And that's what I love to do is the corporate. Because we're doing cookies, we might do 1,000 2-piece packs for, KPMG for one of their conferences, or most of them are destination conventions here in Florida. We do work for, we've done work for McDonald's. We did their McDonald's, Verizon, Mass Mutual. We did their top executive conferences that are held here somewhere in Florida. So that kind of thing. We did.
How do you get to those people?
Yeah,
they actually find us.
That's great.
Yeah. So I was in the beginning trying to market to like convention centers and that kind of thing, visitor bureaus and that kind of thing, which really kind of didn't take me anywhere. So we just started just with our social media and with our website, just started.
Are you still in that process that you go door to door, or you're in a process that now they're looking for you?
Well, it's a little both. A lot of people, people find us every day. We just got a call the other day for a hotel. We do a lot of amenities. So we got a call for a hotel on the East Coast that possibly wants to use us for amenities. But I also am always looking for the next hotel. So we've got a couple of new places in the Keys that I want to stop in this week when we go visit. And I'm a firm believer you have to see and know your customer. Yeah. You have to meet them. You have to build a relationship with your customers. And I remember the first time we went to one of our customers in the Keys a couple months after their first couple of orders. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like,
why are you here?
Customer service. I want to say hi. We want to thank you for our business, and now they wait. They look forward to us coming. So I think it's really important to stay in front of face to face.
Yeah,
in front of your client,
even that's not the usual, and especially the business owner to go in and deliver the actual cookies.
Actually, so when we go down this week, we have five of our clients want cookies. We'll hand deliver them, and we'll say hi and talk to the girls.
That's what makes it different too.
Yeah, I mean that's how I was brought up in business. So I mean that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I think it's lost nowadays with the internet and texting. It's like, please don't text me an order. Pick up the phone or shoot me an email or something. But really,
but it's so interesting because it's just where the consumer attention is.
It is,
and the way that people consume everybody, the content today and orders today. Even 20 years ago or 15 years ago, just to put in your card information into online,
right?
Crazy. Yeah. And now today, it's a no-brainer. You want
everybody does everything on their phone.
And in order for you to have hotel orders, McDonald's, and all these brands, it had to start somewhere, right? So for people that are watching and they want to bake cookies at home and kind of like go into business after that.
Yeah, because it's a different ballgame.
Competition,
it's like I feel like we have to rewind a little bit.
Because it's a different ballgame to want to bake cookies at home than what you're doing, which is a business. Even at a small scale, once you do that leap, once you take that leap, it's not just baking cookies at home.
We still get people go, oh, do you bake these in your kitchen? I'm like, no. We have an 1,800 square foot kitchen. We make these in. We do 12,000 cookies a week. And they're like, really? So, I mean, it's not just, it's a business. I mean,
and also how much money you started with, because when we were in the food industry, we started with a certain amount of money, but then 10 years after, if you asked us how much do you need to open that location, we'll be like probably 3-4 times of what we started. So what about you?
Very modest, just, a couple $100. I mean, when I the commercial kitchen, when I did rent a space eventually, I did have to, buy equipment, and I probably had about a $30,000 initial layout. And really, I mean, other than labor and supplies, I mean, we've grown a couple new pieces of equipment, but we pretty much stayed with what we had.
What are some things that you would what's some advice that you'd give the younger generation or people wanting to go into business regarding business?
I think you should follow your passion. Interesting you asked me that because I have a niece. My niece, after it's named after, she just turned 30, and she had no direction. She didn't know what she wanted to do, and I kept on saying to her, "Life is a zigzag. You try something, you don't like it, you try something else. If you don't like that, you try something else. But soul search. What do you like to do?" I mean, she loves pets. I said, "Okay. Open a pet sitting service. Do something with what you like to do," and that's what I did.
What if he doesn't pay?
I think you can grow it into a paying business. I mean, you've got to figure out a strategy and figure out where you want that business to go, what you need to survive. I'm kind of like, I had to look and say, okay, this is what I need to survive. How am I going to get there? And you just kind of you follow your passion, and you got to take a leap of faith and, okay, I'm going to do it, and just keep working at it. I mean, being a business owner, you never stop working. You're always working.
Do you think passion sometimes gets confused in the sense that when people don't see results, they're not passionate anymore, or when they see results, they start loving the business?
I think if they have the passion and the business isn't growing, or if it's not what they're expecting it to be, that there's something wrong there business wise. There's something that they're lacking the knowledge of to get it to the step that they want to want it to be. And there's a lot of resources out there. I mean, we're fortunate in Naples to have SCORE. I mean, I tapped into some of the SCORE guys, and I have 2 mentors, and, they kind of helped me along with some different questions. I get to a point and I go, okay, now how am I going to get to the next step? And, so you have to tap into people that have already been there or have that business knowledge.
Is that a group? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, the SCORE. They're here in Naples. It's
like a networking group.
It's retired executives from high-end companies. They're all retired CEOs from like IBMs and around the country. And depending on what your business is, they match you up with a mentor that's has been in that business. Or I got matched up with a guy that had 800 restaurants around the country, and then another guy that had like a half a dozen, restaurants. So I got hooked up with those guys too, and learned a lot from them. Mm-hmm. Like how to order, and I kind of just jumped into it and figured it out. But we're fortunate because we have those resources.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I mean, you've got to find them. If you don't know something, find somebody that knows it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Just tap into them.
You can't have ego in business.
You can't have an ego.
I feel like ego just gets thrown out the window in business, right?
Yeah. And fortunately enough, every SCORE mentor that I've met, or every SCORE person that I've met, I mean, we're talking, this could be like the CEO of IBM, and they're like just regular people. Just treat them like regular people, and they're gonna be happy to help you.
Right.
But find somebody, if you don't know it, find somebody that knows it.
Right. Right.
So.
No, yeah, I think that's great advice. And business is just so complex, and I think that being self-aware at all times, you have to be self-aware every single day.
You do.
In business, not only for yourself, but also where your business is at, where your employees are at.
And stay a step ahead.
And stay a step ahead.
Yeah, you have to stay a step ahead.
It takes a lot of mental work, right? Like a lot of mental work all the time.
All the time. I'm always thinking about the next product, or the next, where's it going? Where's the cookies going? Who am I going to market to next? Mm-hmm. How are we going to get it there? Like with the preservatives,
right.
I mean, I had no idea. I was just talking to this gal. She's a food chemist, and she's like, "You ever think about putting preservatives in your cookies?" And I have my best friend from childhood. He's like, "If you would just put preservatives in, you could open your heart." And I'm like, "I don't want preservatives in my cookies because that's not my brand." But the more I talk to her, she's like, "Well, you can do organic."
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either. And I'm like, food chemist, okay. So she said, you don't have to do preservatives, chemical preservatives. You can do organic preservatives to, make a 6-month shelf life for your cookies. I had no clue. I had no idea. So we're going to meet and we're going to talk about that. But so, here's somebody just we were casually having a casual conversation, and she goes, I'm a food chemist. I'm like,
and that came up.
And I'm like, and I do believe everything happens for a reason.
Oh,
I believe
definitely.
the people that you meet and that you associate yourself with, it's all not by chance.
Right.
Yeah. You're put in that place for a reason.
The reason that you want to do the preservatives is because you want to go into the airports? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I want to do I need a longer shelf life for like Buc-ee's. I don't know if you've ever heard of Buc-ee's. They're like a huge travel plaza. They're out of Texas, but there's 3 of them here in Florida, and they're building another one. A place like that, but in the hotel, we're the perfect souvenir. We're the perfect Florida souvenir.
Yeah.
Anything key lime, they're good.
Yeah.
So
what's the difference between that and then the gift shops of the hotels that they are lasting? What's the
28 days?
28 plus days. We have a 28 plus best used by.
Yeah, so
most of that's consumed. Yeah, like our conventions and conferences, it's consumed right away.
Will it make the cookie taste different?
She says it won't. That's what we're going to start experimenting with.
Yeah.
So maybe the texture, she said, shouldn't change the texture.
Yeah, because I've tasted the cookies when I go to your place, and you've given me freshly made
off the tray.
And then I've gone to seat to table and bought them, and they taste exactly the same. Like if you just put them on the shelf.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel
that's something unique about those cookies too.
Yeah.
I feel like at some point you have to make that step, right? In order,
I think you do too. You got it, because we have to get to the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I have about a dozen hotels that I still want to get into that I'm working on. My goal this year is to get into at least half of them. But to get to that next level, to build that business to be saleable, we've got to have that. We've got to have that that type of business,
right?
Like the fresh markets, the gourmet high end markets, Aroma, and those places.
With that said, are you now? Is your next 4 or 5 year plan in growth for an exit?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Whether I sell it and stay on, for a year or two, or whether I just flat out sell it and let somebody take it over. And the other thing I've looked into is maybe possibly co-packing, having somebody else produce the product.
Oh yeah.
And just, but I realize in that, the next step, there's a lot of changes that have to be made.
Can you license
packaging
this?
these? Pardon me?
Can you license this?
I don't know.
Like, oh yeah.
Quick question.
You could definitely probably patent the recipe.
Are you looking for an exit because that was the plan from the beginning, or you're looking for an exit because you just don't see the business working or growing if you're not there?
No, the plan is in 5 years I'll be 70. That's that's the exit.
So there's no one.
It's not that I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to travel and enjoy my life. In 5 years.
Can that happen with someone running the business, or?
I do believe so. If I get the right person in there, absolutely.
Have you gotten any offers?
I haven't even kind of put it up. I mean, people know that in 3 or 4 years I'm building a company to sell it or to have somebody run it, and then maybe not sell it, but have somebody run it and just do it that way. But it's just in the planning stages now. Okay. So yeah.
And that's interesting.
Yeah, but the next step again too. The next step is there's got to be a lot of changes. My packaging has to change. For more.
Does it have to get more commercialized a little bit?
Yeah, I think, right now our packaging it's working fine, but if we're going to be in a grocery store and it's got a 6-month shelf life, it can't be in the packaging we have now.
Yeah.
So, it's the domino effect.
Right.
Once you get to that next step. Yeah, this has to happen, and then that has to happen.
Would that change your whole vision and everything, how it started?
I think I can keep it to a degree the same. I don't want it to be like, Chips Ahoy. I don't want it to become that way. I mean, it'd be nice to have Chips Ahoy sales, but that's not my brand. But I think I can scale it enough and change it enough, packaging wise and marketing wise, that it can still stay the same, but be in a different market.
And you have one product, right?
Basically, and I'm a believer. Do something and do it right.
Yeah. You also have the brownies.
I do. We have the orange cookie that we rolled out last year in May. So it was just a year this May. It tastes like a creamsicle. So that's
it's
really
amazing.
Thank you. It is really good.
Yeah, we're super proud of you because putting out one product and making it a business. I have friends.
Good product.
Yes. I have friends that they always say, "Oh yeah, my grandma, she's like the best cook, right?" Yeah, but your grandma's cooking for you. It's not cooking for everybody. Once you put a product out and you test it with real people, that's when if you have a business or someone is good at doing something.
And then we were in the Emmys, the Emmy gift bags. We were in the 2012 News and Broadcasting Emmys in New York, and they found us. They just Googled Key Lime or gourmet products, I think is how they found us. And I always ask when somebody new finds us, like, how'd you find us? And I thought it was a joke because a gal that I had worked with me at the time, she was in marketing. She was one of my printing clients, actually. And I called her and I'm like, is this a joke? I mean, I got this email and then I got this phone call and I'm thinking, okay, somebody's playing a prank on me. And so she did the research and it was real. And they just found us by Googling. So we did those for the News and Broadcasting Emmys. And then 3 years later, we got a phone call from the same company that does all of the gifts for the Emmys, all the Emmys, and asked us if we wanted to do the daytime Emmys in Hollywood. So we were the only vendor invited back twice for any of the gift bags.
Wow.
So
that is big.
Do you think you've worked more for your company than before, like in other businesses, or
do I work
more? Like, do you think the amount of not right now, like where you're at today, but the buildup of the company? Did you?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to. I mean, you're building. You're starting a product and building a brand. I mean, you've got to. I mean, there's so much to it. So, I mean, you're licensing, and you got to get licensed right, and you've got all of the agencies you have to comply with, and
inspections.
Do you recommend anybody, like, do you recommend for a majority of people to take a leap and do their own thing, or what are your thoughts around that?
I think if you're passionate enough and you have enough drive, I mean, it's not for the faint-hearted, and you're willing to, work for peanuts for a while, because it's going to take that, and just, be diligent and believe in yourself and your product. I think you should take the leap. I mean, it's great to work for yourself. I mean, it's great and it's not.
Right.
I mean, I'd love to be sitting behind a desk,
What are some of the reasons why it's not?
Why it's not?
Yes.
Well, you don't have that stability of a regular paycheck coming in every week. You don't have necessarily have the 401ks and all of the health insurance and other things that come with like a corporate job. So, I mean, everybody thinks it's so nice to be a business owner, but
it's like
you give up a lot.
Yeah.
You really do.
Do you feel like technology and how everything in business has evolved has changed your business since when you started? Because you said you started knocking door to door.
Yes.
And now everything is more social media.
Yeah, that's technology is not my friend. That is my weak point. I struggle every day when I sit behind my computer and try to figure something out. But I'm like, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
But you have to do it, and you have to sit there and do paperwork. But then you have companies like yours that you can tap into that's your business. I mean, I don't want to do my social media. I don't want to do my bookkeeping. That's not my strong point. So
that takes time away from you in what you want to do.
Right. And if you
growing the business. Yeah.
If you surround yourself with successful people and people that know their business, you don't have to know that business.
That's
so, right. I don't want to learn what my bookkeeper does. I don't want to learn what my accountant does. I don't want to learn what you guys do. That's why I hire, that's why I have you guys. And I think it's important to surround yourself. If you surround yourself with a weak link, right, you're gonna have issues.
Right.
So you have to have that strong business around you to make yourself help make you successful.
So you have about 2009 you said, yeah? So 12 years?
11.
Yeah, well 2009 I did, for 2 years I did the cheesecakes and pound cakes for country clubs and restaurants. So 2011 March of 2011 I actually started marketing the cookies.
Okay. Did you have, throughout the years, did you have a moment where you ever said, you know what, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Or should I keep doing this, or should I stop?
Not really. Once you start it, you got to finish it.
Was there any hurdle that you went through that now you would go back and change to be better?
So that for someone that's listening, that wants to do...
Thanks for a great question.
I'm not even hearing the questions anymore. I didn't even know. Sorry, I got excited there.
That if you went through any hurdles or anything that you would change to make better whatever problem you went through.
I don't think so. I think I had to learn it all for myself. I mean, I had to. I had to go through it and experience it and go, okay, this isn't going to work. What do I do next? And I think you just have to, it's just a trial and error, and you just push for and be, I have a lot of perseverance. I'm like, okay, I know I can do this. I mean, like when I sit at my computer and something won't work, I'm like, okay, I'm not stupid. I can do this. I can figure this out. So I think that's just, I never looked back.
Yeah.
That's great.
I look back now and go, what would I have been doing if, I didn't have my brother passed and my parents with dementia? What would I be doing? I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably still be in the financial world. But
now you can ask your question.
My question. From what you said, you said you never went through like real hard times, you will say.
Well, I mean, you go through, you have just enough money to pay the mortgage or whatever. I mean, I was caring for two parents that, I was footing the bill for anything, prescriptions or whatever wasn't covered with what they had, their insurances and stuff, I was covering. So you go, okay, when is it going to be, when's this going to end? But you just have to, fix the problem. Yeah. It's just, I think for me, it gives me more drive to have to, fix that and figure it out so that I can do what I want to do.
Right.
And, there's always a solution.
Yeah. I think it's amazing that because business owners always have a story. Like as a business owner, no matter who it is, like you always have a story to tell, right? Like of good times, bad times. And I think it's very difficult and kind of underestimated how hard it is to grow something as you're learning it.
Absolutely.
At the same exact time.
Yeah.
And then delegating things and hiring and systems.
You just jump in and do it. I mean, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's if it doesn't work, you just gotta step back and go, okay, that didn't work. Now what do we try? And
business owners, for the most part, adapt really quickly.
Yeah.
You have to in business.
You do.
Like you bring somebody onto the team, you see, it doesn't work. This is not a good system. And then you have to make that decision. But as a business owner, you always have to be that person that I know that kind of puts their foot down, right? Because that's what like in the sense of with employees and things of that nature. Like you have to be the person to say. Here, and for the most part, like, hey, that's not how we're doing.
So my favorite, the girls always tease me because we're all friends. We all, we work. I don't say I have employees. We work together as a team. Nobody works for me. We work together. We all work together. But when something goes wrong or something, they try to do something, I'll say, okay, so my famous line, so when did we start doing that? And then they'll look at me and I say, so how's it working for you? It's not. So why are you doing it? Go back to what you're supposed to, how it's supposed to be.
Right.
It's tried and true. I'm all for shortcuts. I'm all for learning from somebody else. And
that sounds easy, but that's hard to do. Like to be that person.
As a team grows,
to be a leader is hard.
Yeah.
I think you can do it diplomatically without hurting anybody's feelings too, though. Or
is it hard for you because you have like a friendship with them? So is it hard to tell them, okay, you're slacking here?
I can do, they say I can. They tell me I'm diplomatically nasty. So like if I something, I'll go, really, you guys? I mean, come on, and they know. Or I'll just look at them, and they know when I look at them that it's like, why? Okay, we shouldn't be doing it. So I don't feel it. I think we have a really good communication level between us,
right?
And I think it works out really well.
Right.
That's great.
I get frustrated, and they get frustrated with me. But it's like if you just do what you're supposed to do to get to the final result, there shouldn't be any issues.
Right.
So. And everybody's personalities, I think it's really important too. We have no drama. Everybody gets along. Everybody's personalities. Everybody works together, and everybody pitches in. If somebody needs help in, packaging or shipping or doing the package, everybody goes, oh, we'll do.
What's the most common mistake that you guys go through?
You guys ice by hand, right?
Right, everything's done by hands.
Icing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They got that down to a science now.
Really? Yeah. Well, I say really, but I know. For the viewers, Kim. For the viewers.
We will put a spoon in your hand. It's not as easy
pretend
as it
a little bit.
looks.
We get
Yeah, anybody comes in the shop and wants to try it, we will be happy to put a spatula in.
Wendy makes it look so easy.
Yeah, she does.
Been doing it a
Oh
long time.
yeah, she does it.
Yeah,
like nothing.
Yeah.
That's actually something we talked about when we visited your location. Is that going to be systemized? The
icing.
The icing,
because that's a
it's all hand done. It's time consuming.
And you do it on the back of the cookie.
Right, we do it on the flat.
That's
we take the
trippy.
cookie off of the sheet and ice on the flat side.
with the back of the spoon.
With the back of the spoon.
No, that would be next.
I didn't actually know that part, even though I've
and they do it
seen
backwards.
The very first soup spoon was stolen. I was eating, I don't know where it was, I don't remember, but I was eating it and I went, this would be perfect for icing the cookies. So off it went.
Yeah.
So but,
That's very time consuming. I'm sure that will cut a lot of.
I don't know how we would do that. I've thought about that for years and years and years. Just because
because you would need some type of like machine to like flip the cookie, and then how would you get that?
But the reason why is because you said it's a little thick, right?
Yeah, it's not really an icing.
Right.
I can't tell you what it is, or I'd have to kill it.
Right. But do you think that type of machine would work where it funnels up and down?
You would think, but since we turn the cookie over, once they're on the sheet, we turn them all over, and then we ice on the flat side.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like they would need like some type of equipment that would flip the cookie, and then.
But then they don't come off the sheet that easy. So you're picking them off the sheet.
What was the reason behind that? Like, why would you do it in the back?
Don't
and at
ask
the front?
me.
Maybe that's why they're so soft.
I don't know. It's more the icing. You can get more icing on the flat side than you can on the.
That makes perfect sense, actually.
Falls, right?
It just kind of falls into place.
I'm sure there could be a really cool system for a commercial system.
They have unifillers, where you could put the icing in the vat and just hold the cookie under it, and there's a foot pedal. But I don't know how that would spread onto the cookie. And it's so honestly, I mean, I can. And Wendy, she's quick too. All the girls are quick now. But I mean, I can do like 3 cookies in about 4 seconds or 5 seconds. I mean, I can. So to actually pick up a cookie, put it under a machine, press a button, you could probably have 3 or 4 cookies done by hand before you would.
And
you need like a thing that just goes straight where you drops the cookies, cooks them. And then puts the icing on, like all straight.
But then you have to turn them over.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's my design. So I'm the one to blame for all the labor. But they're good.
But maybe that part will just stay handmade, hand done forever.
Everything
just
else
ice
can be automated and then just hand ice them.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, now I understand, because I saw the cookie the other day, and when I turned it over,
it's like this.
So I was like,
it's round at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because they flipped them over.
Don't ask me why I did that. I don't know why.
I think what you said was perfect. I mean, more icing would sit on the bottom than the top.
Right.
You would not get as much.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like a glaze. You'd have to like do a glaze coating or something on
and
the
you
outside.
Came up with that recipe, or
I did.
you found, or you tweaked a
I
recipe?
just I knew I wanted a soft cookie. I don't like hard cookies, so I wanted a soft kind of cake-like cookie. And I started with a bunch of different recipes: sugar cookies, shortbread cookies, black and white cookies, and nothing really hit. So then I just started experimenting and taking a little from this recipe and that recipe until I came up. It's kind of like a vanilla wafer, but it's not. Yeah. Because they're hard.
Yeah, I was about to say those are definitely
and I love
hard.
that it's not bitter.
Right, and it's not a shortbread because they crumble.
And it's a cookie batter. Not.
It's a batter.
Yes.
It's not batter.
Oh, we had a whole discussion over
Oh
that.
yeah, they kept telling me.
Well, I mean, it's a cookie, so you think dough, but
it's not.
But the dough is hard.
Yeah,
That's what I kept telling them.
Dough
The
is
batter
hard.
is
Dough you
when
roll. Batter is
Yes.
like pancake batter.
Exactly.
Batter is like cake batter.
Right.
So it's kind of in between.
So what do you do? What do you do to disconnect from business? Because what we do is from business, we disconnect, talking more business. but it feels like to us, it's like I guess it's a passion. Just talk business and have a conversation and learn from other businesses. So what do you do?
What do I do to disconnect? I go to the beach.
She goes to the beach.
I am a water baby. I'm a beach girl. I like the beach. I love the beach, and so I'll beach it.
And you've been visiting Naples, not living in Naples since 1980. You've been visiting since 1980.
Yeah, I bought my first house in '88.
In '88.
So I was kind of a snowbird.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You live in Naples?
Pardon me?
Do you live in Naples?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But so since '88. So you've seen Naples change.
Oh my gosh.
A ton.
Are you kidding? We used to drive in 1980. I mean, we used to ride my best friend and his mom lived in Pine Ridge. And Vanderbilt Beach Road dead ended at 41. And 41 it was one lane each way. And we used to ride our four-wheelers from Pine Ridge up to Vanderbilt Beach over the sand dunes. I mean, nothing. Pelican Bay wasn't there.
There was no Fifth Ave.
Pavilion wasn't there. There was a Fifth Avenue, but
Fifth Ave's been around a long time.
And so was 3rd Street, but it was very quaint.
Okay.
There was Wynn's actually was on Fifth Avenue, where
oh really?
There where Best of Everything is. That used to be a Wynn's supermarket.
Oh wow.
But just a couple little nice boutique stores, hardly any restaurants. I mean, you'd have to go to, there was no place to eat around.
Really?
Yeah. I remember one Easter we came down and nothing was open. We had to go to the site gas station. We got cardboard pizza and baked it. But there's, I think we had a Denny's. We didn't have anything.
Now there's a lot. Now there's a lot going on.
There was no 75. There was no Goodlet Frank dead ended at Pine Ridge Road. Mm-hmm. None of that. There was no here, Livingston. Right? No, I'm from Maryland originally.
And what made you come to Naples?
So my best friend David and his dad passed away in 78, and they had just bought a house here in Pine Ridge for a winter home. And when they kept on saying, come visit. So my brother and I came down one June. We drove down. And in his 1962 Cadillac convertible, we had a ball. And one of his friends and one of my friends came to Forest, drove down to visit them. And again, we went to Vanderbilt Beach. I walked to Vanderbilt Beach, and I was like, I'm living here.
So because of the beach.
So, yeah, it's just look at the place. It's paradise.
Oh yeah,
paradise.
Yeah.
So,
and what are your thoughts about Naples right now?
I think it's starting to look like Miami. It's losing its charm.
Really?
Yeah, I really do think it's losing its charm.
Yeah, I love Naples.
Oh, I do too. But it's the same, but it's different.
Yeah.
It's still
The great thing is that I don't think it will ever become like Miami. Because there's a lot of things that filter out. Becoming like Miami, I think.
I just hope it doesn't.
Yeah. I don't think it can. They won't even, there's a lot of restaurants and stuff like that they won't let open here.
And I think that's good.
I think that's
we don't have a normal transportation system. Right. It's only the cat bus. So it's they do all these things to keep it quaint.
Regulations on late night stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, I've been a lot of places, and there's no place. People say, where would you live if you didn't live in Naples? And I'm like, I don't know, because there's no place like it. It's so unique.
Yeah, it really is.
So beautiful.
That's why everybody's coming.
Right.
Yeah. And it's hard to explain sometimes to other people.
But there's a lot of things, like I said, I feel that filter out. A lot of people, because it's pricey. It's not a cheap place to live.
Yeah.
But and a lot of regulations. A lot of people want to go to places at 3-4 in the morning. You can't do that here. You cannot do that. So I think it's great that there's regulations.
I do too. I'm all for it. Yeah, I'm all for it. And I think they need to slow some of the construction down.
Oh yeah, they're building so much, and they're redoing a lot of the Bayshore.
Mm-hmm. Bayshore is great area now, but it's there is a issue of housing for employees. For labor.
Oh, really?
If you're in an industry and you're a food server or
everything's too expensive.
Yeah, where do you live? I think the average apartment for one bedroom is $1,800 a month now.
Oh yeah.
How can you do that if you're a dishwasher or a hair cutter or Naples is not conducive to the working class.
Yeah,
and it's hard for employers to find employees. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a gal, she did fabulous, and she lived in a stairwell, and she had to take the bus to work, and it just became an issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, especially in season with traffic. I mean, never knew when she was coming to work.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how that's going to play out as Naples continues to grow.
Yep.
Because companies need employees.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure because they keep building out in the estates and farther and farther, like places out where oil well is, and like farther out. I feel like hopefully when they build all that new things and new construction, that hopefully they'll price it more reasonable for people like that. Like more I know affordable. The homes are more affordable right now out there, but it's more affordable if you buy before they built it compared to when it's built. Yep. So
it's it's price of success.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
I mean, really. I mean, it is. It's
there's
the
so
price
much
of success. I mean, you gotta.
That's a great way to put it, I think.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity, I feel, in Naples. You just gotta work your butt off.
I mean, when I first came here in the early 80s, there wasn't a wedding store, a baby store. You know, I mean, it was an older town, older, wealthier town. And you didn't have anything like that. Now you see, I don't know what the median age is now, like 62 or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're seeing
That's
more.
That's the median age?
I think so.
Really?
And I think in the 80s it was like 84. I mean, there was, God. The town closed up at 9 o'clock. I mean, you couldn't find anything open. Wow. So now, I mean, you're starting to see more and more young people come in.
Yeah.
And families come in, and our school systems are great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I can... Like say I was born here, so so that's true.
Cracker. Yeah. So, but it's it is a little piece of paradise.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Do you when it comes to kind of going back a little bit with to business, are you from when you started to where you're at now? Do you just think back to yourself and say, like, wow, like, you know, I didn't think, or maybe I did know that I was going to be at like where I'm at today in the sense of how the business grew, or is it the opposite of that? Like you didn't.
No, I said, sometimes I just sit when everybody's gone, I'll look around the shop and go, wow, how did I get here? You know.
Did it feel fast?
No, I actually, I'm probably like, not like most entrepreneurs. I am a believer in slow growth. I think you should, I mean, when you grow too quickly and spread out too much, I mean, that's the death of you. And I've just always plotted and planned like what my next step is. And, you know, I've had people say, oh, you know, you've been in business 10 years, you should be doing this. And I'm like, well, I probably could have been, but I'm building relationships and I'm building my business the way I want my business to go. And it's, you know, it's working for me. So I just, you know, I don't think you should spread yourself thin.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So,
and there's different ways of building a business, right? It all depends on what the person really wants for them. So
was money a big driving factor for you?
Oh yeah, it was everything. Because I had to pay the mortgage. I mean, you know, becoming
I like asking this because sometimes, like, you know, there's mixed emotions about that. Yeah. And like, if it's like, why else are you not why else, but it has to be a giant role like that. Money, because if not, you could just go and do it for, like, you could just work for somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, you know, mine was out of necessity. My company was grown out of necessity, really, to care for my parents and pay the mortgage. And, you know, I like my lifestyle. I like what I've done over the past, you know, 35 years before I started this company. So I got used to, you know, you get used to a certain lifestyle. You get used to what you know, what you've grown into. And
I feel like
I really didn't want that to change. I mean, it did for a while because, you know, it was, you know, the bare, get the business running and kind of the bare, you just do the bare necessities.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times I think, God, the beach was there because if I didn't have the beach to go to and think and just, you know, get away, that was my escape from two parents with dementia. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know where I'd be in the nut house somewhere. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I wanted to continue the lifestyle I grew into that I created all those years. Right. So yeah, money was, I mean, you know, a big part of it.
I think it reflects what you do. Yeah. I feel.
Yeah. In your family.
What are your thoughts about that? Sorry to keep coming up, but what are your thoughts about that? Because like, don't you think that money in business, like the more money you're making, the more you're doing something right? Do you feel like isn't that the reward to either your service or your product is the amount of money you're making? What do you think about that?
I think to a degree that's probably true, because the more money you make, the more successful your business is.
The more you're selling.
The more you're selling, the more you're growing.
The more everything, right? I mean, the more you can
the reason why I say that is just because
like the more you can hire people.
But the reason why I say that is because in today's like way of culture and stuff, like you hear a lot of weird stuff, you know, like about business. Like one, it's glorified business, like if it's like the best thing ever, but it's so hard to be a business owner.
It is.
And especially the growth part. But then sometimes you'll hear like, you know, we talk to a lot of people. Sometimes they're like, money does not matter at all.
Well, it matters when you have to pay the bills.
Yeah.
That's because they have money.
It doesn't matter anymore.
This is like my fourth career, but it's not, I mean, it was, you know, it was a necessity. I mean, I had to do it. I had to do it to be able to survive.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference.
You didn't start it as a hobby.
Right.
You started it as a necessity.
Right, as a necessity.
I say that because I just talked to somebody the other day, and I can't remember exactly what we were talking about, but they mentioned something about the money, like the business, if it's not making money, isn't that? And I'm like, if the business isn't making money, like you don't have a business. You know, if the business isn't making money, there's no, like, what are your thoughts on, and I know there's stages in companies where, yes, you have to fund the company, and depending on what industry you go into, maybe the more capital it takes to fund it, or the break-even point is longer, or so on and so forth. But I feel like the point of a business and why you get into business is for that business to put money in your pocket.
Sure.
Not take money out of your pocket.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, you want to be successful. I mean, if you're successful, you're making money. You know, if you're not making money, then there's something that's not right wrong. There. Yeah. You know.
It's just sometimes people get so emotionally attached to what they're doing sometimes. They're like, let me feed this thing. I think
if you have enough money to begin with and you're doing it as a service or like a fund, not fundraising, but a hobby. Yeah, like a hobby, but like a hobby for a good cause. You know, I think that's different. I mean, then you don't want to make money because you want it to go all to your cause. Right. But when you're, you know, the average person working, trying to, you know, support I just have a cat that eats. When you're trying to support a family and pay the bills and, you know, pay the gas and electric and all, you know, it's got to be successful. Yeah.
I think the reason why Rodrigo was asking that question, it's because sometimes, like, I have no problem about talking about money. You know, I think it should be a conversation there should be a normal conversation, right? Sometimes when you talk about money, everybody goes like you know, and I think it's just something normal, you know. It's just paper. It either maximizes who you are, right? Like if you're dumb, you're dumb, and if you're a good person, you're a better person. So it has nothing to do with like money. It's a problem, you know. It's more like it's going to maximize who you are already. So I don't even know where I was going with this.
I don't know. I think when you you know, when is enough? That's a question. I mean, when can you have too much? You know, I mean, you get to a point when you have a large company like Amazon. You know, when's enough? But
if you reach enough, what else do you do?
Right. Then you know,
if you set that limit on yourself. Like if you set that
enough.
Yeah, because if anything, you grow something amazing, and then you just end up taking what you've learned or your money and investing it and growing something else.
Right, absolutely.
Like you never stop.
Yeah, and I think an entrepreneur is like that. It's always, what's the next thing I can do? You know, I'll work till I'm 100 if I live to be 100. I mean, even when I retire or when I sell the business, I'm going to be doing something. I mean, I told Carlos to see the show, I'm going to come cut up cantaloupe. You know, I mean, I can't not work. That's just how I am. You know, I have that drive. I'm already thinking about what I want to do when I, you know, don't do cookies eventually.
And I think that's the mind of every entrepreneur, that they just can't stop thinking about working, because I bet that when you're in Italy You were still talking about the business.
No, okay. There's no ceiling fans in Italy. So as I'm like laying in bed, because they turn the electric out, it's from 2 to like 6.
Wow.
And so you're like, the air conditioning goes out and you get hot. And I'm like, where's the ceiling fan?
Yeah.
Nowhere in Italy where I went was there a ceiling fan. And I went, okay, we got to start a ceiling fan.
The new business.
And then every place we went, because I love pretzels. And when I go to the beach, I take pretzels. There are no pretzels in Italy. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to start importing pretzels. So I was constantly...
You're always thinking,
what else about the new idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, I think every business comes out of to fill a need for something. Whether it's a not-for-profit or something, a product. It's always... It's driven out of necessity from something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like fans in Italy, so they just stay cool. Oh my gosh, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Not one fan anymore.
But I wonder, there has to be a reason why there's...
I think the electricity, we were talking about that the other night.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking, like, even if
expensive.
the electricity if they cut it off, even if you had a fan, how's it going to work?
They just cut the air conditioning off. The lights are all still on.
Okay.
But I think, there's solar nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, why can't you put solar panels? Yeah. We went to wineries and we were sitting under these, canvas canopies having wine lunches and wine dinners and not a stitch of air blowing. And I'm like, why can't you put a fan up there under that canopy, and blow some air around here? We're all sweating to death. It just was, so yeah, I'm always thinking about what's next.
Right.
Just like the product with the chocolate bar. We're doing a key lime chocolate bar.
I can't wait to taste it.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I'm excited.
I think I had a tasting the other day. I think I finally have a final contender.
Do you consider that you're very picky with your product, or you're more like, okay, let's just get it out?
No, I'm really picky.
You're very picky.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when the icing's not just right or they get sloppy, I'll say, I can tell you guys are tired. I said, we're not, that cookie's not getting used. So then I make them eat it. And not all the time. But for the most part. But yeah, I mean, people eat with their eyes. You want the product to be.
Do you try like your product once a week or once a month, or how does that?
Oh, I'll just walk and buy. I'll just take a bite out of a cookie, make sure. Or sometimes if I can see it might look funny, and not quite right, I'll take a bite.
Do you still crave them, or you're already like?
I don't really like key lime.
No.
Really?
No.
Wow. Well, no wonder it's like so light. It's like perfect. Like you said, like the second bite is when you really start to taste it.
Yep.
So why key lime?
Because it's what the market demands. I mean, we live in Florida. Everybody wants key lime.
Everybody
wants to take something
that's
key lime
famous
home.
for key lime pie.
So when you submitted the surveys to your friends that they gave you feedback, did most of them say key lime?
Yeah, most of them liked it. Yeah.
Every key lime pie should have a Kristis Key Lime cookie.
Oh, there
that
you go.
would be amazing.
Martini served at a bar should have one on the side. So working on that.
Wow, but that's great. I mean, it's like you own cookies, but you don't eat cookies.
Yeah.
It's like I would have never thought that you didn't like key lime.
Yeah, I mean it's okay. It's not something I would prefer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean you have to look at the market and see what the market's.
Do you like chocolate?
Love chocolate.
Oh,
okay.
And there's chocolate in my icing, so white chocolate in the icing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
You can't say the recipe.
I'll have to kill you.
Don't bleep that. Don't bleep it. You've been so crazy.
Well, it's on the ingredient panel, so it's no.
Oh, sure.
They just don't know the right proportions.
Right.
But I like chocolate. So you have to. Whatever the market demands is where you've got to go.
Sure.
And key lime is like a no-brainer for Florida.
Yeah, definitely.
So
sometimes that makes you or breaks you too, like the market, in the sense of you gotta be willing to change, because if you're like, no, this is how it was, this is how we always used to do it, and that's it, I'm not gonna change it, that's my product, then everything changes, So
like getting to the next step, my packaging's going to change.
You have to adapt. You have to
adapt
to the market.
You have to adapt. So
all the time in business.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, and you have to stay a step ahead.
Yeah.
You really do.
Consumer attention.
Yeah, there you go.
And where it's going.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And technology changes so quick. It's
they just added a new platform. It's just crazy, you know?
Yeah.
You're learning one, and then another one pops up.
That's why I have you guys. I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn it. So,
is there anything that you'd like to expand on or speak about, or maybe any advice? I know I asked you earlier, but the reason why I ask again is just because I feel like if just one person can take something from this interview where they were thinking about getting into business, maybe your industry, and if there's one thing that we can help them out with or save them time or a headache.
I think, if you have something that you want to do, you need to take a leap of faith, and you have to find a mentor that knows something about what you want to do, and be open to people helping, and follow your dream, follow your passion, follow what you like to do. Mm-hmm. You got to be happy in life, and we have fun at work. I mean, I like going to work. All the girls love coming to work. They wanted to work 4th of July, and I'm like, no. No. And I'm like, no, you're not working 4th of July.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to like what you're doing. You have to like the people you work with.
And for you as the business owner, I would assume it's hard to build that environment of your employees wanting to come to work.
Yeah,
because that's not the regular. No, it's not. Don't want to go. They want to call in.
No, you can't. I mean, I don't want to go to work every day and go, oh my God, I got to get and go to work. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm happy to go to work, and the girls are too, and it's. We do fun things like, I take them with me when I go marketing once a month for the Key, because I want my customers to know who's the team. Mm-hmm. I want them, and they'll go, oh, so you're the baker. I want them to know who's making their product.
Right.
And the girls love it. I mean, they love to do it. I mean, we're a team, and I want the customers to know the team.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you have that, and you're willing to get up and go to work, you want to go to work. I mean, when I was in the mortgage business, I liked it, but I hated it because I sat behind a desk. You're working with people's money. Every single penny counts. And although it's rewarding monetarily, it was not gratifying for me. It just was like, okay, gotta sell another mortgage. I mean, it just was not something that I enjoyed doing.
And you spend more time with the people at work than sometimes most of the time your own family.
Yeah.
Because you're there most of the time. Yeah, you're with them all the time. So it's just, if you're not happy in what you're doing, you got to make a change.
Yeah.
I think. It doesn't necessarily mean go into business, but maybe make a change within your career.
Yeah, and I think your employees have to be comfortable with you. I mean, sometimes they'll be doing, a piece of equipment won't be doing what it's supposed to be doing, and I'll go, well, like, when did that start? And they're like, oh, just a couple of days ago. Well, you got to tell me so that I can fix it.
Right.
Or we can, but you've got to have a good communication.
Right.
Good communication with your employees, and they can't feel. Last thing I want is them to feel like they can't talk to me or say, we need this or we need that or.
Right.
So it's just really important. Your relationship, with your employees is really important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. When I had my graphic arts company, I had the same employees from the day I hired them to the day I sold my business. Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's the same amount of, do you think regardless whether you're working for yourself or at a 9-to-5, it's still risky?
Yeah, I think if you're working a 9-to-5, you've got to have the same passion, but you've also got to be, in an environment that you're happy in, and your fellow employees have to. I mean, you can't be with somebody doesn't want to be there. I mean, you are who you surround yourself with, and you can't work for a boss I couldn't work for a boss that was, cranky and miserable and, negative all the time. I mean, where's that getting you?
Right.
Your employees are it's not good for the employees.
Right.
So, I mean, you've got to.
Do you feel like it was harder when you were working by yourself than now that you have 7 employees under you?
No, I don't think so. I just kind of kept my own pace. Mm-hmm. You know, it's actually easier now because I've got people to.
You got a great team.
I got a good team, and everybody can do.
You have to
do it.
Yeah, you have to keep adding, growing your team.
Yep.
And the people that think like you, you know, that align with your brand or what you're trying to build. You know, you have to filter.
Yeah, you do
a lot. You know, but that's part of the game. And whoever jumps on board, they have to know and understand where you're going. Like you're going somewhere, you know.
And I think as an employer, you've got to have that sense of who you hire.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not going to hire somebody that's, you know, going to be constantly come in and go, let's do it this way, or why are you doing it that way, or you know, I'm not going to come to work today, or I don't feel like doing it that way. Or I mean, you've got to. I think you can.
And the food industry is hard to hire.
It is. It is hard to hire. So.
Right.
Yep.
And look, when we were in the food industry, we went through a lot. Like we were.
Like how are you gonna make sense?
We were so focused on to what we wanted, and it was a family business, and we needed everybody to think the same way, you know. And if that person didn't, then we were not the best fit. Right. Of course, give them the tools to perform, but yeah, we had to filter. You know, you have to go through it. It's hard. You know, so a lot of people start super pumped and then they start like.
Yep.
So
and the food industry, you do get for the most part people that like not anybody, but it's not one of those like if you're in design, you probably have like a passion or some type of creative aspect to you that's why you like design. But sometimes in the food industry, most of the times in the food industry, like
there's no passion.
There is, for the most part, because sometimes people are coming from other countries. They're, you know, were lawyers in other countries. Now they're doing this because they have to do, you know, that you get a lot of that. So, and then during COVID, right? Was that how did that go for you guys?
Actually, it helped us in our e-commerce. I started marketing to LinkedIn to companies, and companies were sending gifts to their employees, to their customers, reminding them, you know, that they were still there. So I had to do some creative thinking for, like, summer is usually kind of slow for us anyway, which we're finally starting to become a year-round business. But I ran a contest online to ship to every state in the country. So that got us through June. You know, my girls all went on unemployment, and I pretty much just ran the company for 3 months.
Wow.
And then in July, I did a Dog Days of Summer contest.
So they went. So your employees went on unemployment, and then
in November they came back. Yeah.
See,
when things started.
That's the stuff that I want people to hear.
When I mean,
that's the real stuff, right?
I mean, March 15th, everything just, stopped.
Yeah.
You know, and fortunately, we live in Florida, so we weren't totally shut down. And you know, I got up every day and got dressed. I went to work. I painted the floor. It
was a weird time.
It was a very weird time.
It was it felt like the world was slowing.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, what are we going to do? You know, how long is this going to last? And
did you cut your hours? Well, you guys don't technically have hours, right? Because you're
what? Well, yeah, we do.
You do, but not to like.
But it's not open for the public.
It's not open for public, so we're wholesale.
It was a weird time. That first 4-6 months.
It forced me to get
the first 2 weeks.
Do my e-commerce. Yeah, I mean, it forced me to be creative and figure out how am I going to get some income in. I mean, I still had to pay rent.
Yeah, because nothing stopped. Bills didn't stop.
Yeah, you know,
everything else stopped, but the bills.
Yeah, my personal bills, nothing stopped. So I got creative and did a couple of contests and marketed to corporate more to try to, you know, get them, and it helped us through. And then once we started getting busier, when things started opening up in October, November, and some of our resorts were opening back up, and little by little, and then Wendy came back on with me, and then probably took about another 6 months before we really got back to normal. I did lose 2 girls during that pandemic, but it didn't come back with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was.
That's business.
Wow. I know. It's like, what do we do?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is your definition of success?
Good question.
What is my definition of success? Being happy. Just being happy. I mean, being happy with what I'm doing and paying the bills. Making making other people happy.
How do we get there?
Hard work, determination.
And it depends. It depends on what makes you happy, right?
Right. Yeah.
What about financial? What do you think about financial success? Because I think you could be successful with your family, but then this is at least what I think about financial success is that one day you can be successful, the other day it's almost like a day-to-day thing, because things can go south.
Sure. Well, you have to plan you do have to plan for the future. You can't live for the day. You have to, plan for a rainy day, just in case that rainy day comes.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a mentor. He owns shopping centers and office buildings, and it's a steel company. And when I first met him, he, I said, "What? You have any pointers?" Because I was just doing this to make the mortgage. And he goes, every single check you get or every single payment you get, take 10% of that, whether it's $1 or $100, and put it in a savings account and don't touch it. And he said, and that's your rainy day fund.
And did you do it?
I still do that today.
Really?
Yep.
That's a good idea.
Yep. And I don't touch it. Now it's a money market. I changed it over to a money market. But that came in handy because we for years, and again, it's just starting last year and this year, we were a seasonal business. June, July, August, September, it dies in Naples. Now we're starting to be more year round.
Right.
Yeah.
So that rainy day fund, paid the rent and sometimes. And you just have to.
I can't wait.
You have to think ahead. To be successful, you just can't think of today. You got to keep thinking of the future.
Yeah, definitely.
And be happy. Enjoy what you do.
Yeah, enjoy the process.
Which is hard for a lot of people because people, there's positions, you get stuck in a position where you have to, I'm kind of fortunate because I don't have a family. So it's just me. It's how much do I need?
Right.
How much do I want?
Right.
How much do I need?
Because you don't have any children, right?
No kids. No. Yeah. So just a cat that eats a lot of cat food. But I don't have any shoes to put on kids. So for me, it's a little different. But for a lot of people that have a family and
everybody's card, you got to play your cards how they're
you have to think about that. You have to think about their future. Unfortunately, I don't have to do that.
Yep.
So it's all about just being happy.
Right.
That's why my company's Be Happy Cakes.
Yeah.
I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if is there anything that you'd like to leave off on before we close up this interview?
I don't think so. It's been great, you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks
I think that.
Yeah. Hopefully, somebody can learn something from the ups and downs. Life, business is up and down.
Yes.
It's not. It's like it's so many. It's a zigzag. Nothing's a straight line.
Yeah.
That's right.
Even 9 to 5s.
Right. Nothing's a straight line.
I feel like there's just as much.
It's just life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was. Thank you so much for.
Thank you. Thanks for
us.
having me. It's been fun.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
And thanks for all your help with our social media and figuring all that googob out.
Of course.
I have no idea.
Of course.
So,
you got it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.